Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Aylsham Runners Podcast. It's the 2nd of June 2020 and I'm your host, Lauren Stroud. On today's show we have the highlights of the Aylsham Relay from May the 31st, and our topic of discussion is running during lockdown, motivation and mental health. First, I'd like to introduce my guests. We've got Abby, who's a coach at Aylsham Runners. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Lauren.
And we've got 2 members and recent completers of the Aylsham Relay, Cath, Townsend and Emma Payne. Hello to both of you two as well.
Hello.
Hi.
Hiya. Abby, let's start with you. The club recently participated in the Aylsham Relay. We finished 2nd place overall, I believe. Tell us about your role in this and, of course, the incredible result.
Yeah, as you said, Lauren, absolutely amazing result. Came 2nd overall out of about 44 teams, I think it was in the end. So I should probably just explain a little bit about what the relay was. So the relay was actually started by the Norfolk Gazelles back in 2004 as a regular relay. 3 people from each team would participate. But this year with the COVID situation, they made it virtual for the first time. And it was just absolutely massive. It just grew and grew more than they expected. I think they were aiming for about 10 teams and it ended up with 44 teams, as I said.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's just amazing. And I think that, kicked off back in April with some of the organising for this. And it's just an absolute pleasure to get involved in organising, particularly from an Aylsham Runners point of view, because I thought, gosh, am I going to have to really try and motivate everyone to get involved? But almost immediately we had 38 out of 80 members sign up, which I think we were one of the highest participation teams, which is one of the reasons why we did so well. So that was just brilliant. And then on the day, as I said, we were watching the live leaderboard come in, and we just kept on climbing. We kept in the top 10, I think, all day. And as people's times kept coming in and the miles they covered, it was just a brilliant result. So everybody had an hour to go out there and run as far as they could in that hour, and our 38 runners ran a collective total of 235 miles.
Wow.
So it was just brilliant.
And obviously part of your role was not only some of the admin and uploading some of the results, but you also obviously had to do your stint as well. I believe 1 o'clock, was it, in the middle of the day?
I did, yeah.
Covering 7.07 miles, a very impressive distance set. How was that?
It was really hard. I don't know about how everyone else found it, but I was actually nervous for in the run-up, for the first few hours of that day, especially seeing everybody else's distances come in, which were just brilliant. And it was getting hotter and hotter. And I thought actually when I went out at 1 o'clock, I felt pretty good. I was on the Marriott's Way in the shade, and then suddenly it kind of opened up and was in the sun, and I was absolutely boiling. And by the end of it, I was just clinging on. I think I'd slowed down by about 40 seconds a mile, but it was great. I was really pleased when I'd done it, and it was a lot of fun afterwards. During was hard.
Absolutely. No, it certainly was a real buzz all day, wasn't it? And obviously it was a whole day event, and you did a great job with certainly the admin and the run itself. To clear 7 miles was very impressive. And Emma, if we bring you in at this point, you obviously also participated in the event with 11 o'clock heat, which again I think was literally in the heat as well, covering 5.78 miles. Tell us about your experience of the whole thing as well as the run itself.
Yeah, like Abby said, actually, I felt really nervous in the morning. I don't really know why. But yeah, covered 5.78 miles in the hour. And then I had to run a little bit more to get home, which by that point I was ready to be at home already. It was incredibly hot, and I tried a route that I've been wanting to try for a while, and I didn't really know how shaded it was, and it wasn't at all shaded, so I was in the sun the whole time.
Oh no.
But I survived. It was really good, and I think Abby did an excellent job at organising it and getting the stuff out there to us. And I was really afraid I was going to forget my slot, but every time Abby put a message on the group, it had everybody's time, so I was never able to forget what time I was. So that was good.
Or get out of it.
Yeah.
and obviously with the distance you cleared, you said obviously you felt a bit of the nerves, which I'm sure most people did. Did you have an idea of how far you might cover in that sort of time? Do you have a target?
Yeah. I knew that I can run about, a 10k distance in an hour. So I wasn't far under it, which was good. I think it was mainly just the heat that sort of slowed me right down on the day.
Definitely.
So normally I can aim to do, the 6.2 miles in an hour. So
next time you've got something to beat.
Yes.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Okay, and Cath, over to you. Obviously, you also participated. I think yours was at 5 p.m. I'm not sure if it was any cooler at that stage or not. Again, a great distance, 5.66 miles. Tell us about your experience of the day and, again, your hour of running.
So 5 o'clock, still pretty hot at 5 o'clock, but I guess perhaps not as bad as over lunchtime. So I've managed to spend the day looking at what other people had been up to, and kind of, I know that within the club I'm perhaps one of the slower runners, so I don't really know how far I'd run, but I was looking at what other people were posting during the day to try and come up with a target. And even though it was all in miles, I decided I was, 9 kilometres I thought I'd go for.
Okay.
And it turned out to be, just 9.1. So I was really, really pleased with that.
Good.
I had a sort of 11.5k run on my training program. So I just kind of used the first hour of that. But I ended up misjudging how big a loop I'd need to do to get it all in. And it was nearly 15 kilometres by the time I actually got home. And I didn't want to leave those extra ones at the end.
Wow, that's an awesome cool down, that is.
Yes, apart from without being cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was really good. I saw a few people sort of doing a double take as you run past, carrying crazy batons. I managed to get tied to one of the gates on Weaver's Way with mine, which was brilliant because one of my former students was just sat on a bike the other side of the footpath while I was trying to untie myself from the gate.
Brilliant.
But other than that, it was just really, really good to be a part of it and kind of see what everyone was up to on a bigger scale than just, we've obviously been doing that quite well as a club, but to see all the other clubs and teams doing it as well was really good. Yeah,
and that was a great thing about it, wasn't it? Again, I'm sure Abby's got a comment on this, but obviously everything during the day and obviously subsequently as well with the sort of the media, it's really sort of took off, and it's been some fantastic stories around the whole day, really, hasn't there?
Yeah, that's been absolutely amazing. Joining the wider Facebook group that we were all part of. I'll be honest, when I joined it, I thought, gosh, am I just going to have a day of spam of things that, your phone pinging all day? And actually, it was absolutely amazing to see all these people from all over the country and internationally. I think I saw people running in Dubai.
There was. Yeah.
I think maybe in Thailand. And it was just absolutely incredible. And there were some stories in there as well. And, families out there running. And then, as you said, the media it's had over particularly East Anglia. And I think it's just really put a smile on people's face, made people feel together in a time where it's very easy to feel so far apart. And I just think they've just, they did a brilliant job of, bringing all the local running clubs together. And I have seen that next year they will be doing it as the traditional relay in May, but I believe they are planning to do it again as the virtual relay as well next summer. So we'll have that kind of scale, so hopefully it'll be even bigger and better next time.
Yeah, hopefully not hotter, but it might be if it's in summer.
Cooler would be lovely.
Yeah, wow, great stuff. Okay, and I think that mood and that positivity leads us into the second part of our programme, where we're going to discuss some of our general experiences, especially during this lockdown period, in relation to exercise, motivation, positivity and mental health. We always hear that running is said to give a feel-good factor, but has there been really a feel-good factor for our runners and for you guys in particular here on the podcast? So we hear that continual exercise is beneficial for mental health and well-being. Again, we hear that it has a positive impact on depression, anxiety, stress, mood, sleep, and far more. So mindsets perhaps should change from having to do exercise or, to perhaps almost be a chore for some people, to one that's of something that we value, the positive benefits to our well-being. But how easy has this been, especially in light of only being able to exercise alone? Emma, I'll come to you first of all. How have you found your own motivation to exercise? What benefits have you seen, and what challenges have you had, especially during this lockdown period, and exercise and running in particular?
Yeah, at the beginning of the lockdown, I wasn't doing too badly actually. I just recovered from an injury, so I was just kind of taking the opportunity to go for very short runs. Just after, being seen for the injury, having everything, getting back to normal, it was feeling much better, and I was just kind of taking the opportunity not to do too much, not having sort of, club going on at that time. In some ways, made it quite easy for me to actually stay on the low side of the miles and actually just build the strength back up in my ankle. So that was pretty good. I've also been working full-time but at home, and I think probably that's had the biggest impact, in that you don't see anyone all day, and then to try and motivate yourself to then go out and go for a run on your own again,
Absolutely,
is really hard. So yeah, I was doing the virtual 5Ks that we do on a Saturday, and they were really helpful. And I think kind of after about 8 weeks of being at home and not really leaving the house an awful lot, apart from to walk the dog or to go for a run, kind of just got the better of me. And yeah, that was a really tough week. I just didn't want to do anything. At the beginning of the week, I had to set out what I was going to do, 2 runs during the week and then the park run, and I didn't do any of it. Just didn't have the motivation or enthusiasm at all. Yeah, so that was a really tough week. Luckily, I put a message on the group and had lots of support from everybody. And recently, I've been back out running. Now that we're able to run sort of with other people at a distance, that's been quite nice, just to have that enthusiasm and motivation to actually get out there. So
absolutely. No, I think that's a fair point. So you found that obviously that support network, whether it's via Facebook or messaging or whatever, but within the club, that was useful for you to sort of get you back on track and actually share those thoughts, and that actually you probably weren't alone in thinking that, and being demotivated and not being enthusiastic all the time was actually shared by others.
Yeah, definitely. It literally felt, the minute that I put it on there, got some comments back, really lovely comments, and then I just felt completely different, and I just, I wanted to run again, and I wanted to start building myself up. And we've got the half marathon later in the year, and I just, that's something really exciting and to look forward to. Yeah, so it was really motivating to have that support network there, and I think that's been really important as well.
Absolutely. And Cath, what about you? What's been your experiences?
So for me, sort of more the other way round, really. I found it quite hard at the start. I was supposed to be doing the City of Norwich half marathon at the start of April, and so then that went quite early on. I had all the miles in my legs, so I ran to my dad's house to run my own half marathon, and then I was like, well, what should I do now? And so I did that at the start of March, the week before lockdown, and then in the rest of March, I had a look earlier. I only did 2 runs in the next 3 weeks.
Right.
And I was sort of looking on the group, and people were kind of posting what they were doing, and I let myself get into a little bit of a funk with it, because people were kind of posting their runs going, oh, a bit disappointed today, not as quick as I'd have wanted. And I'm looking at it going, that's miles quicker than I ever do. And I got sort of really sort of not in the best place with it. But then we were just chatting at home with the family, and we were like, well, we're so lucky where we live that we have got places that we can get out and walk and run and do stuff. Think about the people who would want to get out and do it and haven't got anywhere to go. Sort of shook myself out of it that way a little bit, and refocused, and found myself a new training plan to do, and kind of got back out there through that. Good. Signed up for a couple of race at your pace challenges, and a colleague of mine doing their version of the sort of 26 challenge to do the fundraising after the London Marathon got cancelled, and just being part of that bigger picture again.
Yeah.
I ended up running in the end 110 miles in May.
Wow.
Which was ridiculous, really.
And what's your plans for June now?
So part of the reason why May was so bad was because I convinced my wife to do a running challenge, and she hates running, so she won't be running this month. So June will calm down a little bit.
When you say so bad, you mean so good in terms of distance, presumably?
Oh, yeah, no,
Punishing.
it won't be so many miles. It was the last week of May was a struggle. My legs were really tired. So this month it will be the rest days. So I'm settling back into a similar to when we're at club. Tuesday easy run, Thursday some kind of speed thing, Saturday park run, Sunday long run, and I'll have those other days as rest days this month. So hopefully see those benefits from all those miles come out in a little bit of speed and a little bit of feeling a bit easier on some of those longer runs. But it's just so nice weather, and I actually really enjoy running on my own. I just put the headphones on, I have audio books, and I just sort of listen to a story, and I go out for a couple of hours on my own, no bother.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So the running on your own bit, you're fine with. It's perhaps just that occasional reminder, that reset of, right, okay, why am I doing this? What's my target? What am I aiming for? And sort of that re-energizing to sort of get motivated again, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my thing.
Yeah, good stuff. And Abby, what about yourself? Obviously, you've helped other members, obviously, of the club by devising plans for them. What sort of feedback have you had from people doing those, and how have you found your own motivation to exercise and keep improving?
So it's been amazing seeing people get involved and follow those plans, and it's been great to see the progress of the members, even though that we're not doing our normal training. So a few of the members have got involved in those plans and have already hitting PB. Some have only just started on the first couple of weeks, some have finished, and I think it's really helped a lot of them, and it's definitely helped me having a plan. When I have a plan, I stick to it. It kind of forced me out even on days when I really haven't wanted to go, and it's given me that structure over lockdown. Me and my partner work for ourselves, so we don't have anybody else kind of to report to. So I know people are working from home, but we don't have that normal 9 to 5, and things are a little bit different how they normally would be at the minute. So actually having that structure to the week has really, really helped during this kind of difficult time. And those when I have a plan, I stick to it, and that's not always easy. There's sessions I absolutely dread, and I actually get a bit of those nerves, a bit like a lot of us said we felt on Sunday, particularly before a hill session. That's one, or a kilometre effort session. They're my two dreaded sessions. You might ask, why do I do it if I dread it so much? But I know they make a difference, and I know I feel really good afterwards. That's the thing, isn't it? Often with running, sometimes we really have to find the motivation to do it, and it was really great to see what Emma was saying there about actually by commenting on the club and kind of showing that kind of vulnerable side to say, I did find it hard. I'm finding hard motivation, and owning it, and then other people encouraging you to do it is just brilliant. And I think that is what maybe we need to do more when you are finding it hard, or as Cath said, going home, speaking to the family, actually, how can I start to enjoy my running more? Because that's what it is there for. It should be fun. It should be enjoyable. So
definitely.
I think that's been the main thing for me, having a plan. I have to say I am starting to miss. I think I had an 8-week plan. I'm now in a 4-week extended plan, but I am starting to miss just going out and running on feel. So I think I'm going to start to just build in some days within the plan of do what you feel like days, whether it's a 2 mile or a 10 mile, but just to kind of give a bit of that flexibility and just see how you feel mentally and physically.
And I think that's important, isn't it? I suppose even for myself, as someone that likes to have a plan like you and perhaps try to keep improving, actually sometimes you've just got to go with what your body says and actually take it easy sometimes and actually enjoy, as you said, the act of getting out there. And the countryside we have got around us is incredible. The weather's been pretty good. We sometimes just remember, as I think Cath said as well, just to go out for a longer walk. Doesn't have to be a run, but just to do something, but just to ease off a bit, not put that pressure on yourself. I think that helps for your mental well-being as well. Do you think?
Totally. I think, it's okay to not want to run, and it's okay then on those days where you really don't want to do it, don't do it. That's also all right. Sometimes it does make you feel better by forcing yourself out, but actually equally, if your body is saying no and your mind's saying no, pour yourself a glass of wine, sit back and just chill out and ease the pressure off a little bit.
Absolutely. And one thing I was going to come back to for all three of you really, or all of us. I mentioned obviously earlier on about the effects perhaps regular exercise has on sleep. And I know there's been quite a lot talked about sleep patterns around lockdown, and obviously all of our patterns have slightly been out of sync. Has anyone got any sort of views on that? If they've had better sleep, same sleep, worse sleep than normal over these last couple of months?
I would say that my sleep's probably been more or less the same.
Mm-hmm.
But I have noticed with my watch that I've got, it looks at heart rate and stress and all of these weird and wonderful things.
Yeah.
And it incorporates something called a body battery. And it was really interesting. I think it was last week or the week before. I had a day which I was at work and at home, but working. It was quite a stressful day. There was lots going on. I then didn't sleep very well. I think that was the same night. And I woke up and the body battery was like 56 out of 100.
Okay.
And I ran that night as planned. And it was so hard. And I only did about 5K, but it was the hardest thing ever. And then a couple of days later, I looked at the body battery for that day in comparison to the previous time. And I had run. And in the morning when I woke up, my body battery was at like 90 something. And I could just do it that day. I didn't feel anything. It wasn't hard. I just did it. And I hardly even knew that I'd done it. And I ran further. So it's really interesting how the link between sort of the stress, the not sleeping well, and how that affects your ability to actually run and probably feel good as well.
Absolutely. No, I think you're right. And what about yourself, Cath? Anything to comment on that?
I think I found that with the extra running and stuff I've been doing, I've been more physically tired. So yeah. I think often will wake up 2 or 3 times during the night, and I've perhaps not been doing that so much. Very physically tired. But I've also had the benefit that sort of my version of working from home hasn't actually involved very much structured work. So I've been able to just enjoy sitting outside and catching up on reading and proper downtime. So I'd say probably that, as well as the running. Just I've spent 90% of every day outside for the last
which is good. And so actually you're right. It's that work and general life balance has probably been a bit better because you're not in those buildings and perhaps more stressed, or less stressed at home perhaps. I don't know.
I really enjoy being outside, so whether it's sitting or running or reading or biking or whatever, just the fresh air is beneficial for me. It makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Doing with it.
And what about yourself, Abby?
I'm definitely one of those people that hasn't slept as well during lockdown, and it's more just the restless thing. I think there's always just something at the back of your mind where you're just not as relaxed. But I do find on the days that I'm out running are probably days that I do sleep better, because as Cath said, you're then physically tired, and also you're out in the sun. And at the minute, we've just had the most amazing weather the last 2 months, haven't we? And I think that really helps as well. Kind of that getting that time outside in the sun, exercising on those days where I've done more, definitely feel sound asleep, and then you feel better and more refreshed the next day. So even kind of working harder and pushing your body a little bit more can help you feel more refreshed.
Absolutely.
Within reason.
I think so. It sounds like balance is that key word again, isn't it? So you might have some of your really tough runs that actually make a real difference to you, but actually balance it out with some easy days, walking, jogging, enjoying the outside, and then perhaps across the week things balance themselves out and sleep is a bit better. I'll be interested to know how those that did the late runs, the hour runs the other day, how well they slept that night, or whether they still had adrenaline going through them. I think Miles, does he finish at 11?
He finished at 11, and I think, I still had adrenaline go through me at 1 o'clock, and I, after being on the leaderboard, yeah,
well, there's
I couldn't.
The excitement.
I just felt all the excitement of the day. I don't think my brain could switch off after that. So I imagine Miles would have probably been even more so.
And that was probably one of the things that, we haven't mentioned, probably another podcast, but screens. I suppose we were all probably looking at those screens, checking the results. So even I would have been perhaps, getting ready to go to bed, but actually wanting to see Miles finish, wanting to see the results come in. Felt like a general election or a Eurovision Song Contest or something that you're there. And actually that we know is not good for us either. We need to be putting those devices away actually to help that sleep. So again, it's all about balance. Thank you to my guests, Abby Price, Cath Townsend and Emma Payne. This has been an Aylsham Runners production.